Water. What's poppin', ladies and gentlemen? We thank you for tuning into the Sports Life and Everything Else podcast, aka S.L.E.E.P, where sports, life, and entertainment collide. Presented by the Away Team and coming to you from the top shelf, produced by
Excellence!
My name is Michael Roberts, aka Mike on the mic, and I'm joined by my co-host and good friend, Mr. Taylor Super. Taylor, how you doing?
What's happening? What's going on, family? What's up with you?
It's getting a little chillier outside, so I had to
course.
pull out the sweatshirt and the, you know what I'm saying, jackets and all that good stuff.
Yep.
But the damn weather been fluctuating. It's just, I don't know what's going
80,
on.
81 days, 60, 40. We don't know what's going on.
It was a cold 50-something day earlier this week, and then it was a warm 53-degree day a couple of days ago. So
no rain.
I'm just thankful I'm not sick yet, man. Because
I'm sick. I've been sick for 3 weeks.
Oh no,
Don't never go away.
That's a bad job. Subscribe to the YouTube page and follow us on Twitter and IG at Sleep is for You. That's S.L.E.E.P.I.S. the number 4 YOU. And Sleep is for You 2.0 on TikTok. You can listen to audio episodes wherever you find your podcast, but make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube page because we're trying to spread like legs. Like I said, it's a little chilly outside. It's a little cold outside. So we coming up on cuffing season, you know. That's how it go. Show love, show hate. We here for it all. Tell a friend to tell 2 friends about us. And don't forget, you can find us at sleepisforyou.net, the hub for all things sleep related. And there are links to get to the show, get to the social media pages, and links to get to sleepisforyou.printify.me, where we have our sleep merch. If you want to go there and cop something, support what we got going on, we definitely appreciate it. We appreciate y'all views. We appreciate how things have been going up a little bit over the past couple of episodes. So we had 2 guests recently, both Flip Murray and Brandon Scoop B. Robinson, and we very much appreciate them coming through and giving us some of their time. But this episode is just back to me and T. So for this week's episode, we discuss which sport is the hardest to win a championship in. We list our top 5 active players we have going to the Hall of Fame. But first, we're going to discuss a simple question. Does the NBA still make stars? So, T, let's get to it. Mm-hmm. Does the NBA still make stars? In my opinion, it's not a lot of systems or bodies that really make stars anymore, period. If you're talking about NBA, you're talking about just talking about music-wise, like you got to be a star prior, or you got to get your star up on your own. But I will say that the NBA definitely promotes stars,
They do that,
as opposed to promoting like actual teams nowadays. Like they still do some team things, but it's not a bigger push on that. It's more on the individual stars. You know, being that stars are what they are right now, they get a lot more notoriety as far as like commercials and stuff. You'll see, you know, Chet Holmgren and SGA on a AT&T commercial, or different people just everywhere at this point. Not even just, you know, pushing soup or different food companies and car dealerships and stuff like that. Yep. But I don't think the NBA really makes stars anymore. It might help you to grow if you get yourself to a certain level, and, you know, just as far as giving you more exposure, because with certain teams, you know, the better you play, the more TV time you get, the more nationally televised games you get, whether it's games on ESPN or ABC. You know, we're in our last season of TNT right now, so unfortunately that's coming to an end. But yeah, they definitely will promote you more so that you may have more room to grow. But nah, I don't think they make stars. T, what you say?
It's kind of give and take. When I thought about this the other day, I was thinking about, well, did Edwards have a lot of steam when he came out? Not really, but as he started to play, people started to like him. People like him a lot. People like his his demeanor and stuff like that. But I remember when KD first came in, he came in with hype. You know what I mean? Like when he was playing in Texas, people were watching the games. Mm-hmm. Nobody was really watching Anthony Edwards when he played at Georgia. You know what I mean? True. So I'm just, and then, you know, everybody knew about LeBron. That's pretty much when I was graduating high school. LeBron had hype when he was in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and everybody said this guy's going to save the NBA. Mm-hmm. Kobe had hype. But like nowadays, now it's kind of like far in between. I mean, the balls they had, excuse me, the Lonzo and
LaMelo.
Lamelo ball, they had hype, but they had to kind of generate that themselves. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
you
that,
kind of have
that that was generated by their
yeah,
pop.
that was
Lamar.
generated by their father. So a lot of this stuff, a lot of these basketball players, they have to kind of generate it themselves. Whether they get themselves on camera, they're dunking, and, you know what I mean, they're playing, wherever it is. Like I think Carmelo's son, we know who he is,
Cayenne,
stuff like
yep.
that. But
Salute to Cayenne.
he promotes himself and stuff like that. So a lot of these guys, they have to just do it themselves. Cooper Flag is getting a lot of a pub right now.
Yeah, getting a lot of
Yeah,
notoriety
but
with
the
what he doing.
first 2 or 3 picks this past year from overseas,
Yep, French guys.
I think the one guy named is Zachary something. like I'm saying, everybody knew Bronny more than they knew
The top
of the
guys.
top 2 guys. Another
Yeah.
guy named is Sarge or something like Sarge. They went to Washington,
Mm-hmm.
but more people knew about Bronny. Whereas right now, who is one of the bigger stars that came out right now is the guy that's playing for the Sixers right now, Jalen McClain. So it's but these guys are kind of coming in. And they have to kind of make themselves, you know what I mean, into stars like. Now I know
Yeah.
Jerry McClain is a big star on TikTok and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So
yeah.
you have to kind of do your own
You gotta
stuff.
do your own legwork.
Yeah,
Honestly, I feel like it's kind of like a symptom of the times.
Yeah.
Just because there's so many ways to like know people. Like back in the day, back in the '90s, like there was no social media, so the only way you really heard about these players is when reports came
Reports,
out.
yep.
Whether it's reports from the local news or it was
Journalists.
reports on ESPN or stuff in the newspaper, stuff in the magazine. So there was a little more mystique. There was a little
Yeah.
more stuff behind the scenes. But now, you got all these different social media outlets.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing interviews. You got players that's playing that has podcasts. You have former players that have podcasts that have current players on. So you have so many different ways to get what you got going on out there, and it's it's kind of organic because this is the world that these kids are growing up in. Like we didn't grow up in a world where there was social media. We didn't grow up in a world where there was mass use of the internet. Not until we got a little bit older, in like the late '90s, maybe closer to the mid to late '90s. But yeah, that's just kind of what's going on right now. Like you said with the boy McClain, he's a TikTok star. This is not something that just happened because he went to the NBA. This is something that happened because he's been building a following and been doing what he's been doing.
Whether it
for
be from his
years.
hometown, the people that know him from, they're looking. He's got a big following. You have to kind of do it yourself.
Kind of get out the mud.
Yeah, Juju Watson out in Cali, she's got a following. You know what I mean? She's a baller out in USC. So you have to kind of do all this on your own. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a journalist that's gonna come to you when you're 16, 17 years old and just start posting about you, and then you're gonna develop it like that. It's kind of like you have to kind of be your own journalist, your own agent, and kind of put yourself out there.
Your own,
What's the kid's name that was dunking for the Sixers, and he went to Matt McClung.
Matt McClung.
People had saw that from years ago, and then he kind of, now he's not a big star, but that's how people knew him was from dunking and stuff like that. People knew about Zion Williamson was because he had like a different type of figure that we don't really see like that in basketball. So that's kind of how he got hyped up. But you kind of have to. You have to do your own stuff. I think Scotty Barnes is. I give him. He's a great player, but he doesn't have anything behind him and stuff like that. Jalen Brunson was a great player in the area. Went to Dallas. Didn't nobody know him. Now he's in New York. Because you're in New York, you're going to get promoted and stuff like that.
And they're winning.
Yeah, and they're winning and
they
stuff
went
like
to the
that
playoffs
too.
and made a little run last year, so that helps to hype your exposure too because the playoff games is nationally televised. A lot of people can watch them. And then another contributing factor I think is YouTube.
Yeah.
Because one of the big things that started maybe 8-10 years ago was the highlight tapes that people would put together for these kids when they're in high school and when they're in college. A lot more the high school ones. I remember specifically, I had my eye on Aaron Gordon when he was coming out of high school because he was one of those kids that was really nice, a really standout player in high school, and I saw a couple of his tapes or whatever like that on YouTube because of some page I was subscribed to or following or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's another way that the kids get on these AAU tournaments.
Yep.
Those are crazy right now. So it's a lot of contributing factors to, I think, why the NBA doesn't necessarily make stars anymore. Did you answer the question and say yes or no?
I just said it depends. It's kind of it's down. I don't know if the NBA makes them per se, but let's just say if you come in with a little bit of buzz and then you play well and you have some big games, and NBA will. Oh, okay. Well, all we got to do is just you're already here. We're going to boost you up a little bit more. You know what I mean? So a lot of these players,
pretty
you know,
much what I was saying.
it just depends on what they're coming. Now, if you're quiet and you stand off to yourself and stuff like that, then you know what I mean, you're going to chill. You know, like a Kawhi Leonard, who is in the New Balance commercials, but he's not going to go overextend himself to Gatorade or anything. You know, so I mean, so there's different layers, different it's just different strokes for different folks. I mean, we don't know. Like I said, we don't know. Like a Jimmy Butler, is he considered a star? Yeah, right now. But when he first came in, nobody knew who he was. Yeah. But you know, I remember watching him at Marquette and stuff like that. So that's just me. Or I remember, just like you said, Eric Gordon. I remember picking up on Michael Beasley when he was playing, and you know, and then he came up. He went to Kansas State, and then he came to the NBA. Now I kind of flamed out for him, but it just depends on what your eye looks at, and depends on where you're at the time, and if they get followed. Like, so it's in the middle. I remember hearing about Luka 3 or 4 years before he even got drafted. I remember he was just killing it, and with a bunch of grown-ups when he was 16, 17 years old, just killing people out there, and wherever he's from. but now he's
Slovenian.
So he was getting it in. You know what I mean? So it all depends on what your ear listen to. Like I said, I remember hearing about Luka. I remember hearing about Jabari Parker or something like that out in Chicago and stuff like that. Now it didn't work out for him, but it all depends on where your ears are. I remember hearing about Julius Randle because I think they were all in the same draft.
Think about the best player in the league right now, Jokic.
Yeah,
he doesn't get a whole lot of exposure as far as like TV commercials and stuff. I think I might have seen him on one, but that's I guess not really his lane. He's just content with playing ball, making his money, and you know the success that he's had. And you know he won multiple MVPs. He did win a championship a couple of seasons ago, but he still doesn't really get that marketing promotion quote unquote push. No. But like you said, different strokes for different folks. Maybe that's just not his bag. He's just here to play the game and get that bread.
Yeah, Asia Wilson, who played at South Carolina, won championship down there, went to Vegas and won championships out there. She's one of the best
and MVPs,
MVP and everything. She's one of the best players in the WNBA. But people might start hearing about her now over the last 2 or 3 years. So it all depends on where you're at. Are you promoting? And she's kind of laid back too, but she's kind of more out and open right now because WNBA is getting that spotlight on them over the last 8 or 9 months or something like that. So it all depends on who you want to capitalize on. I think she got a shoe coming out soon. So it all depends on when you're going to strike when the iron's hot. You know what I mean? Like a guy like Devin Booker. He's a great player, but is he getting promoted that way? I don't know. I think he just got his shoe the past year, but he's been in the league for almost 7-8 years right now. You know what I mean? So it all depends. He's been around for a while. So it all depends on what type of demeanor you in. Do you want to put yourself out there? Do you want to be in the background? I like Tyrese Halliburton. He's another guy that I think can be promoted too. But it just depends on who. And what does the person want to be out to like? Does the person want to stay back, or does this person want to be all the way up? Because once you get all that, you're going to get quote unquote more distractions. You know what I mean? So it might take you out of practice. You might be late coming to the team bus. I don't know. You know what I mean? So a lot of these guys, just want to focus on their craft. You know what I mean? Giannis is kind of like the same thing.
Some of these dudes that keep it 100, they just not really marketable.
Yeah, or some people are just not marketable. Yeah,
it's just not going to work. It's not going to go. You can't really force stuff on people if they not, willing to accept what you're saying or what you're pushing as. Is the thing, so
yeah, and also I think it's a position too. Big men are probably a little bit tougher to promote, but a guard, like a Steph Curry, you could promote him. You could promote, Luka. He's not quote unquote small, but he's 6'7", 6'6".
He plays point guard.
Yeah, point guard. Yeah,
quote unquote. I guess you can't really call it a smaller position now because you got Ben Simmons running around talking about he's a point guard, but
so it all depends. I think it depends on what type of person you are, what position you play, and what kind of following you have coming up through high school and then the college. Because remember, the high school, college, and NBA transfer. I mean, it's pretty fast. You're in high school, you're in college for half an hour, and the next thing you're in the NBA. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
getting your name called.
Yeah, so it's pretty quick, especially now where you can just go there for 1 year and then boom, you're in the NBA. So. I don't know. It all depends on where you're at, how good you are. You know what I mean? Who's promoting you? Who's hyping you up and stuff like that? You know what I mean? So I remember there's a guy maybe in 2019. I forget what his name was. I literally read on they was hyping him up, and I don't even know if he even made the NBA. Or remember a guy like Mikey Williams who was pretty much hyped 2 or 3 years ago out of high school, caught a bad charge. I forget what school he's at right now. So sometimes you can derail yourself by getting too much too soon. So I don't know. I can look at it a bunch of different ways. It depends on who's handling it. Is it your mom? Is it your dad? Is it your uncle? Is it some agent that's actually not being an agent, or is it Rock Nation? Is it Clutch? I mean, who's behind
These
you to
management
trying
companies.
to management companies? Who could it be? I don't know.
And they don't even make stars as far as like
Yeah.
the people that you necessarily are in business with. You got to get that out the mud yourself too, as far as like setting yourself up for certain deals and getting yourself into certain rooms and having conversations with people that's going to help put you in a better position. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the music industry don't do that for its artists and stars anymore. There's no artist development.
I don't know. You have to come in with your own.
It goes the same way.
Yeah, you got to come
Well,
in with your
similarly,
own.
I won't say the same
You
way
got to come
because
in
it's
with
two
your,
different industries.
You
But
got to come in with your own backing, and then they'll sign you. Yeah, there's no more artists and repertoire anymore. You have to do all that. You got to come in with 60, 80, 90,000 on Twitter or whatever, or X, whatever it's called, and Instagram. And they're like, oh, okay, all right, you got. Well, then we're going to put the backing behind you. You're going to go from 90 to about 150, 180, and it's just going to keep going up.
Yep.
So, yeah, it all depends. Music is a little bit different, but I mean, it might be technically the same thing. You can't just come from nothing.
It don't really happen like that.
You got to bring something to the table. You know what I mean? What's the whole saying? To get some ass, you got to bring some ass. That's the saying. My daddy used to tell me. You got to bring something to the table.
Mr. Suba.
And I'm not saying
Shout out
pause.
to Mr. Suba.
That's an old saying from back in the day.
All right, well, on the topic of moving out of the topic of the NBA directly and getting into our next topic, we'll be discussing the question, what sport is the hardest to win a championship in? So I did some looking into things and try to do a little bit of background work. And, with the majority of the sports, it's a best of series that you have to win the championship, whether it's a best of seven. Actually, I believe it's a best of seven in all three, baseball, basketball, and hockey, but I'm not too familiar with how hockey rules work. I know their first round is like five, best of five or something like that.
Everything else after that's 7.
Like some of how the NBA used to be. But
The NBA's like that now. It's 7.
yeah, 7, but
Seven,
it's
seven,
7.
seven,
Oh,
seven.
It used to be
be
less
5
in the first round,
Yeah.
and then it went up in the second round.
They want more games because it's more money. So that's why it's 7, 7, 7, 7. That's why. that's only because of money. It wasn't because of no competitive disadvantage. It's because of money. They can stretch their first game out for 7 games. They like that. So that's why.
And you know what I'm saying it's hard to win like a best of. It's hard to win 4 games against an opponent because at that point in time you're playing the best team from the opposite conference in most cases. Like I said, I did a little research. I actually pulled up Chat GPT and plugged it into AI to see what that would give me back as an answer.
Use it.
But what ended up being number 5 on the list for the AI response is my number 1 answer, and that's the NFL. I think it's the hardest to win a Super Bowl because it's not a series. It's a one game, one day. And if you don't show up that one day, then you're going to get up out of here and get sent home. And that's it. And there's 12 teams that have never won a Super Bowl. Let me see. I had the list right here.
About 16 have never even been.
It's 4 teams that have never been.
14. The Lions have been around forever.
The teams that have never won a Super Bowl are the Cardinals, Arizona, the Falcons, the Bills, Panthers, Bengals, Browns, Lions, Texans, Jaguars, Chargers, Vikings, and Tennessee. And the 4 teams that have never been to a Super Bowl, like never sniffed one,
Jaguars.
is the Browns, the Lions, the Jaguars, and the Texans.
And the Brown and the Lions been around forever.
Exactly. The Lions was one of the first teams
back in the 30s.
in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now they do have national championship NFL championship games before it got switched over to a Super Bowl, but they've never played since in the Super Bowl era, I guess you would say. So that's crazy that there's a few teams that have never gotten to one, let alone have won one. And like I said, it's just it's a grueling season. They done added a game to the schedule. I think they're still trying to add another game, or did they let that go?
They probably will.
Yeah. But it's hard to start week 1 and stay completely healthy the whole season if you really get in time. You can get knocked out in the middle of the season, had a great first half, get knocked out week 11, week 12, week 13, be done for the rest of the year, and now your team has to scramble to get another situation worked out. And we all know that as far as like backups, it's not really necessarily the same as it used to be. Like the drop off from a starting quarterback to the backup quarterback, if your starting quarterback gets cracked, it's usually pretty far.
Yeah.
Think about the Eagles, for example. If Jalen Hurts goes down, next up is Kenny Pickett. Do you feel comfortable having Kenny Pickett start for this team and think we're going to go to the Super Bowl? I don't know. However, at the same time, you can say the year that Carson Wentz played and he got cracked, and Nick Foles came in and took it over.
But it was a whole team.
But it was a whole team, and it was a different time. It was a good 8 years ago.
70 years ago, yeah. 2017. Yep.
Exactly. So that's my opinion, is that it's the NFL, just because the schedule is rough. The injuries pop up crazy. You can have a completely different team at the end of the season than you had when you started, and it's up to your coach and your coordinators and stuff like that, position coaches and stuff, to be able to manage that situation and make the best out of it and get the next guy up, like they say, next man up mentality. But it's still very difficult. And then on top of that, in my lifetime, you've had the 49ers that won a Super Bowl. You had the Cowboys dynasty back in the 90s. You had the Patriots starting in the 2000s, and Tom Brady went to 10 Super Bowls. You have the Kansas City Chiefs right now who are running it. So for the most part, you've had the same couple of teams that was in the conversation to win the Super Bowl, or that was winning the Super Bowl. And there's some teams that never get in the conversation. So that makes it difficult too when you have teams that are just dominating like that. And even going back in the day, you had the Steelers dynasty, you had a Bears dynasty. These cities and these teams just kind of like monopolized things over the course of the history of the NFL. So if you broke it down and looked at from beginning to end, the teams that have won a Super Bowl, you're going to have a lot in the same cities. So T, what do you think?
I mean, I can make the case for football because it's, first of all, it's a shorter season, and than the other ones. I mean, but I think for me, I think it's baseball because the season is longer.
True.
And there's a lot of really, really good baseball players that have not even sniffed, not even a playoff, but an actual championship. I mean, Barry Bonds, one of the best, never even got. I think he got to the World Series at one point. You know what I mean? But I think with the NFL, if you do your team right, you can manage your salary cap. You can win a couple in a row. But the only thing about it is there's the teams at the bottom, they're never going to get a chance. So it all depends on what sport you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Basketball.
You honestly could make the case for a few sports, but
yeah. But basketball is cool, but you got to get that player at the right time of his career. But the only thing about basketball is you're not going to win early. Whereas there's times where people in NFL, first 1 or 2 years of it, like Tom Brady won it in the second or third year. So, and then once he won that first one,
his second or third
year. First year he didn't play. Second year he got to the game, lost to Tom Brady. Third year he already had a Super Bowl. So, exactly. So it all depends on how good you are, who you're coaching, the team, and the pocket of where you got to get in the pocket to where you got to get that first one. And once you get that first one, we'll see what happens. But then we've seen it to where older quarterbacks who have stayed with it for a very, very long time, like a John Elway or Matt Stafford, who have stayed in it and just some kind of way just stayed healthy and were able to get one towards the quote unquote end of their career, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Or even like a Steve Young who got one too, towards not the end of his career, but like the middle end of his career. So we have those guys who they've been in it for a very, very long time. They just stay with it, and they just finally get one towards the end. So, but I think I was always thinking about is baseball because it's just so you're starting in late March, early April, and you got to get to late October. That's 160 games. You're traveling a whole lot. It's trying to me, and also you have to stay consistent with hitting and stuff like that. You got 100-mile-an-hour balls coming at your body and stuff like that, and you got to stay in the box. You know what I mean? And everyone has to be good. And once the team is not good, you have to keep playing. You just can't why I ain't got like in the NFL. Once you get hurt, I don't have to play no more. Most of those baseball players, they play while they're still hurt, whether it be a back or a foot, because so I think it's tougher in baseball for me. I think football, I think that may be the second, and I think the basketball's tough too though, because the Sixers haven't been to the damn finals since 2001 or
One.
whatever it was. You know what I mean?
And
So
before that, it was like 83 or
83.
84.
So I don't know. You can make a case for all of them. Hockey's kind of tough, but you can get one offs in hockey.
Yeah.
But you can get a lot of one offs in football too if you develop the right team. Hit on a couple of draft picks and stuff like that. I think you can get one off, and then everything has to go your way in the playoffs and stuff like that. I look at Detroit last year. All they had to do was just make 2 or 3 plays, and they were in the playoffs. But they did make those 2 plays, and 49ers got in. You know what I mean? So all depends on when you get there. You have to make the plays.
Only thing I would say in like devil's advocate against your comment about baseball is like it could be a team that wasn't necessarily good the whole season, messes around and gets in the wild card, gets hot, and takes it all away and wins the World Series. And that's happened more than a few times. That happened to the Phillies the year when they won it back in like 08 or 09. So,
but it's tougher to go.
It's not necessarily always the best team in the sport.
No, it's not. It's the hottest team at the hot time. But it's like the Dodgers just won it this year. I won't say they went wire to wire, but they were one of the better teams. But they kind of stacked their team up. But usually, if you stack it, like I remember back in the day when it was Griffey and Alex Rodriguez and Edgar Martinez, they were all in Seattle. They must have won about 110 games, and they got in the first round of playoffs and they got knocked out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can be the best team in baseball. It happened with the Phillies. They were technically the best team, and they got knocked out in the first
and not
round.
win the championship.
You know what I mean? But
whereas I feel like in the NFL, a little more times than not, the best team that's in the NFL does win the Super Bowl.
sometimes.
And the same way in the NBA, the best team usually wins the
Usually
NBA
win,
finals.
Yo, no. NBA, if you're the best team, you're 80 some odd games. Once you're the best, once you have the best team out of 2 or 3, you're probably going to win no matter what. You know what I mean? So I think if you have the best team in basketball, you're going to win. In football, you have the best team, but you also have to stay healthy. You know what I mean? That's the whole point. You got to stay healthy, and even if someone does get hurt, you got to have depth. You know what I mean? Because we all know that if you don't have depth, if your left tackle gets hurt, you better have somebody to come in there that can play. If not, somebody's gonna get hurt, somebody's gonna get killed, and that can just destroy the whole team. So I'm going to stay with baseball, but football, I think you can get a one-off, but I don't want to say it's luck, but you just have to develop your team. You got to hit on your draft picks.
You do have to have some luck to win in really all the sports, but I feel like a lot in football just because if the other team that you're thinking about are on the verge of meeting in the Super Bowl loses their best player in the AFC Championship game or the NFC Championship game, the game before it starts, like that really works in your favor, and that helps you to be in a better position to end up getting that W.
I mean, we have seen teams that were not the best team in NFL. They get like a 4th or 5th or 6th round, in that playoff spot. Like Tom Brady a couple of years ago, Tampa Bay, they had to play all their games on the road before they got their home Super Bowl.
This is true.
And then we go back years ago when Aaron Rodgers won it. The first game he won was in Philly. Went on to win Super Bowl. So we have seen it, but your quarterback has to be really, really good. He has to be experienced. He has to be an older, smarter, a smart guy, know what he's doing. Oh, okay. They about to blitz me. Let me throw it out of bounds and let me give my team, another chance to, as opposed to just throwing interceptions and stuff like that or fumbling the ball. You got to get rid of the ball because you give yourself another chance to play. So we've seen it, and but we've never seen an NBA where like a bad team, a horrible team, has won. The Heat got close, but we all knew once they went against Denver, we know that they was going to lose. You know what I mean? So you got it. Like I said, once you're in basketball, you got to be that top seed. But the thing is about it, you got to be able to stay consistent that whole season. You got to stay at top. Everyone has to play. You got to play at least 75 to 80 games. Your 3 or 4 best players. You know what I mean? Then we get in the playoffs, you got continuity. And now you guys know, he's going to run a pick, or he's going to get the offensive rebound. I'm about to shoot this ball, and I can run. You know what I mean?
About to leak out.
It's all about those 8, 9, 10 core players. They got to once they're together.
They got to be a unit.
They got to be a unit. All right,
which
tonight.
Is why I feel like it's going to be difficult for the Sixers this season because they're not going to have a whole lot of unity or togetherness with 2 of their best players. Their two best players are not there consistently.
I think in basketball it has to be, got to be conducive, and it's hard to get a one-off. You can't get a one-off in basketball. It's usually going to be the same 3 or 4 teams in the mix at the end. I think you can get a one-off in football. It's tough, but you can get a one-off if you build your team the right way. That's just My opinion, but I still think baseball is tough. Mike Trout's one of the best baseball players ever.
Getting nowhere near it.
He ain't been nowhere. You know what I mean? I can go.
Angels.
Yeah, I can. Don Manning's one of the better players in baseball from the Yankees back in the day. Never got. And mind you, he was on the Yankees,
Yeah.
and then he was just in a point where on the team where he just never got in. But if you wait a couple years later, you see Derek Jeter and all them guys, and Tino Martinez and Bernie Williams, they all got
Jorge
championships.
Posada,
So it all depends on like when you're there. Are you the best player? You know what I mean? It's tough. You know what I mean? So. I don't know, but remember when the Phillies won their championship the 2 or 3 years before, they had got in the playoffs. So sometimes if you get in the playoffs that 1 year and you get knocked out, you can build your team up, and the next year you can get up a little bit closer. That's what you can do in baseball. You can get yourself better and come back the next year and be better. I don't know if football can happen because you can get to that point and get to Super Bowl and lose, and next year be completely trash.
It's true. We've seen that happen.
Or we can see a Super Bowl team that won a Super Bowl in 1 year,
It gets back.
next year come back and they just barely make the playoffs and get knocked out. You know what I mean? So we've seen so many. Whereas your basketball, if you're good, once you get that first one, it's easier to get through the playoffs and stuff like that, to get to another one and stuff like that. So we saw Boston get to the finals a couple of years ago. They lost, and just this past year they won it. So they already had the experience. They just had to stay healthy. They had to get the right coach. They had to get a couple, tinker around with the players.
Get the right mix.
Get some of Drew Holiday.
The Udoka situation, losing their coach that took them to the finals the first time.
Get yourself the right player, and then you straight. So that's all. You can tinker in basketball. All right, let's get rid of this guy and let's bring this guy in. Let's get rid of this young guy who we know has potential. Let's bring this older guy who has a little bit more experience in playoffs. He may have never won, but we can bring him in. He can help us out.
Boston did just that when they traded away. What's my man name? Marcus Smart, and brought in Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday, and Marcus Smart's a defensive guy, been there forever. They traded him out, and they got in Drew Holiday, who's a couple years older, but it worked out for them. So it all depends on what kind of moves you're making behind the scenes in basketball. You can get there, but you just have to have the best. One of the two. You gotta have a top 5 player on your team. You have to.
You have to.
You have to. You can't just have like a bunch of guys on the team. That's not going to work. You got to have a top 5 player on your team. Surround them. Have a good bench. Have a good depth. Everyone has to be level-headed. Got to be on the same page. We're going to be playing 75, 80 games. Forget all that load management crap. And good. You know what I mean? We're going to be in the playoffs and we're going to be waxing these dudes. You know what I mean? So
send them out. Send them home.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. But football, it's more players on the team. Injuries and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I still think it's baseball, though, for me.
Okay.
Just because it's a longer, grueling more season, and even if your team sucks, you still got to play.
This is true. Well,
and if your team is good, you kind of have to. You got to keep. Oh, okay, our team is good, so that means that every night I have to go out here. I can't miss. I have to dive. I have to go I have to go into the stands to get the. I think it's more of and plus you're going from cold to hot to cold. I mean, you're going through damn near 3 seasons in baseball too.
This is true. You start in spring, go through the summer, and end in fall.
And in the cold, you know what I mean? So
and it's an outdoor sport.
Outdoor sport.
Football is too.
Yeah, football is too. Yeah, absolutely. But I think those guys are made to play in the cold and stuff like that. So, well, except for Miami went to the cold last year. They wasn't ready for -18 or whatever it was out there in Kansas City. You know what I mean?
It got crazy in Kansas City last year. That cold, people got frostbite so bad they lost fingers. Had to go to hospital. Like it was. That cold get vicious.
So, like I said, I can make a case for a lot of sports, but I still think it's baseball for me.
All right. Well, Taylor says baseball. I say football. Jump in the comments and tell us what you think. What is the most difficult sport to win a championship in? All right, so that's going to do it for that discussion and kind of getting off of the topic of championships, but kind of staying consistent with it because winning championships actually helps contribute to what our top 5 list is for this week, but it's going to be the top 5 Hall of Famers that are currently playing. And we're first going to do an NFL list, and then we'll do an NBA list. And we're going to run through them real quick and just, critique each other's and say, yeah, I think he would go, or nah, I don't think that's really going to happen. Now, I have a few people on my list that are kind of like We by the way, we excluded anybody that's like absolute definite. Like LeBron, we're not going to be talking about him because
No.
he's going. Steph Curry, he's going.
We doing the basketball first?
No, we're doing NFL first.
So
But I'm just
NFL,
throwing out names that we're not going to say. Like we're not going to say Tom
no
Brady.
Mahomes.
Yeah, no Mahomes.
Tom Brady don't play no
he's
more.
not. He don't play no more. But yeah, no Mahomes.
No Kelsey.
No Kelsey. Just teams, players that for the most part.
And no
they're
Rodgers.
like automatic. Yeah, no Rodgers.
Even though he's playing like trash right now.
Yeah, well, he's going out kind of sad.
R.I.P. to Rodgers.
Hey, this is what he wanted, man. He wanted to keep playing. So that's the thing about these
But
sports.
he's got a lot of records, so that's why I'm leaving him out. He's got a lot of records in the record book, and he's broken a lot of them. So I can't. And he's got a Super Bowl, so that's too easy.
You have like a window where you like can retire, and you might still have like a little something left in the tank, and you could still play.
Yeah.
But if you keep going too far past that,
Yeah.
then you're just gonna end up in a space where you're going out sad,
He's going out here.
and you ended up starting quarterback for the Jets, and y'all getting juiced every week when y'all had playoff aspirations. But we've seen it happen over the years, and it's ill because it's easy for me to say that, but at the same time, when you're playing the sport and you grew up in playing this sport and you love this sport and you just want to continue going and you feel like in your body and in your mind and in your heart you can still play and
I still
contribute
got
something
it.
to your team.
These young boys don't. These young boys, you know what I mean. I can still play.
It could be hard to walk away. We was just talking the other day about Ben Roethlisberger and how he went out in Pittsburgh.
He went outside. Yeah.
Like that was sad.
Maybe 2 years too many.
Yeah. So it's not as easy to just get out when you need to get out or get out when you're supposed to get out. Some people just go past the expiration date, but that's what it is, and we're gonna keep ticking. So at number 5 on my top 5 for the NFL Hall of Fame guys, I have a guy who plays for Tampa Bay. Excuse me. He was a Super Bowl champ. He's 10th on the all-time tackles list for the whole league, and that's Levante David.
Okay.
I think he probably still has a couple seasons left in him.
Yeah, he's still balling.
And if Tampa can get themselves in a position where they can make another run, I do like what they got going on down there with Baker because he's been playing pretty well this season. But losing both of your starting wide receivers is a real shot in the foot. And their running game hasn't really been all that consistent with the guy. What's his name? No, Rashawn Johnson's in Chicago.
White.
Okay,
White.
Rashad White. And they got the boy Bucky Irvin coming off the bench, but he's kind of lost some of his steam over the past couple of weeks. So, maybe they can turn it around. Maybe they can make it happen next season. I don't know. But he's somebody who stands out and somebody who I would throw in the mix as a guy that I would believe is a future Hall of Famer. Number 4 on my list is Tyrann Mathieu. He was a Super Bowl champ. He has 800.
City.
Say it again?
Kansas City.
Yeah. He has 800 career tackles. And as a safety, having that many tackles is kind of crazy. I forget exactly where on the all-time list he is, but he's doing good as far as the safety does. And he has, I think, 35 interceptions on his career. He's been an absolute menace, whether he was in Kansas City or when he was in Arizona before that. And even now in New Orleans, I just saw a couple of weeks ago, he had a big interception for them, even though they're kind of
Still putting in work.
looking a little shaky right now. But yeah, that's the point. He's still putting in work. He's still a dangerous person to have in the secondary to try to throw on. And I think he'll end up getting a bust.
The Heisman Trophy Finals. I remember he was coming up.
Mm-hmm. So the first two, you say yay or nay?
Oh yeah, both of those guys, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, bet. So number 3 on my list, I'm gonna take it to another guy that was in Tampa, and he was on that Super Bowl champ team. But that's Mike Evans. He has the most career receiving touchdowns for an active player with 100, and he's tied for 9th all time with that mark. He's only 31 years old, so he's probably still got a few solid years left in him. And like I said, they have a competent quarterback, at least it seems, with Baker Mayfield down there, slinging the rock. So that only works in his favor to have somebody that's going to get him the ball where he needs to be so he can do what he needs to do and continue to add to his resume. Mike Evans?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
10 straight seasons of 1,000 yards, and he's the only person that's ever done that. And that's Randy Moss, all them guys. He's had 10. Now, I don't know if he'll get it this year, but since they play 17 games, let's just say if he plays, whatever. Let's just say he plays for the rest of the season. I don't know where y'all going to see this when we record this, but if he gets out there and gets like 120 or 190, 80, couple of back, he can get there. You know what I mean? So yeah, but 10 straight seasons of 1,000 yards, that's amazing.
And a lot of his catches are like over the top catches,
Yeah.
like deep balls or deep slants.
Still
or
got speed.
He can take a slant and turn it into something if he has space.
6'5". Yeah, really good at keeping himself in shape. You know, never seen him like overweight. He's always been like that 6'5", but he's real slender, and he's one of my favorite receivers that I've watched over the years. I like his story too.
He hasn't had a lot of injuries hampering his career neither.
No, he's pretty. This is the first year of injuries. You know, so I took him to 31. So yeah, he's a great player.
All right, well, if my first three are good, I'm sure my last two are going to be solid too. But at number 2, I'm going to take it to a guy that just got to his team this year. He was a second-round pick that started off kind of slow with the team he got drafted, and he just ended up turning it into a lot. But it was expected that he was going to do his thing because I remember his first year or two, they was kind of talking about his name a little bit. They was kind of talking about him a little bit. And this was a time when I was really heavy in fantasy, so I just didn't really see an explosion for him. And then it was like one season he came back, and it was just like, bang. So that's going to be Baltimore Ravens' own Derrick Henry.
Oh yeah.
He's 2-time rushing yards champ, 2-time rushing TDs champ, meaning he had the most rush yards and most rushing touchdowns for the season. For an active back, he has the most career rushing yards at a little halfway over 10,000, and the most career TDs, 101. And he might end up getting a Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily going to happen this year because their defense is looking a little shaky, but they have a pretty good shot with the way he's been playing and the way he's been, getting incorporated into their team. Because, like I said, he just got there this year from Tennessee. So my number 1 guy, kind of will go without mentioning, but is Von Miller, 2-time Super Bowl champ, 1-time Super Bowl MVP, has the most career sacks for an active player, and he's tied for 17th all time. He's still a menace in Buffalo when he's healthy and playing because we know he went out last year, but his name is just synonymous with winning. He got one of those Super Bowls in Denver, yeah, on that Peyton Manning team. And he's just been a star for whatever defense he's on. He's a terror for any quarterback or any running back that's trying to get loose and do what they got to do. So tell him pass it over to you so you can list off your top 5 NFL Hall of Famers currently playing.
This one's gonna be controversial. My first one will be controversial, but I think Kirk Cousins is going to make the Hall of Fame.
Hey, listen.
His numbers are better than a lot of quarterbacks that are in there right now. Now, I know we're in a passing league right now, so I think they're going to have to I don't think the NFL, the Hall of Fame is going to adjust anything. But a lot of these guys are going to be, because we pass so much, a lot of people's stats are going to be through the roof. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be guys like A.J. Brown or Hopkins. Their numbers are going to be better than like T.O. and Randy Moss because they throw so much. You know what I mean? We know those guys are Hall of Famers. So, but I think that Kirk Cousins, if he keeps playing and keeps putting up all these 4,000 or 5,000 yard passes, more than Troy, what's his name, Troy Aikman and all these other guys. If he can get close to like Dan Marino, I mean, you kind of have to put him in. He puts up numbers, man. Yeah, he don't have no rings and he always chokes in the playoffs, but I'm talking about Hall of Fame. So
he turned the career backup status and to parlay that into starting for a few different teams. He started in Washington, went to Minnesota, now he's in Atlanta.
Yeah, he's putting up numbers. You know what I mean? So he's my number 5.
Okay.
My number 4.
I won't say no to him based off of your explanation.
Number 4. I mean, I did want to put this guy in, but I looked at his resume. I said he does have a Super Bowl ring, and he plays for Baltimore. I had to put Justin Tucker in him. He's a kicker.
Okay. Kickers get in.
I had to put him in. Yeah, they do put kickers in. Yeah. I mean, so, and the thing was, the year before he got drafted, Baltimore got all the way to the game. Got it. Went against Tom Brady up in New England. Threw a pass. I think Joe Flacco threw a pass to Lee Evans. He dropped it. They brought in the backup, the kicker. Kicker came in and straight up bricked the kick. Got rid of him. Got Justin Tucker the very next year, and he was very, very good. And they haven't looked back. And I think that was
good ever since.
And it's been good ever since. I think that was his first year. Either his first year he won the Super Bowl. He helped because he was just such a dynamic kicker. And that was almost 12, 13 years ago. He's still kicking right now.
Yeah.
I think he'll get into the Hall of Fame because he's just so accurate. He's got some of the longest kicks in the league. He got 60-yard field goals, you know what I mean? Game winners and stuff like that. So I think he'll definitely get in. Yeah, so that's my number 4. My number 3, I mean, he plays for the Chiefs, but people kind of forget about him. He's the main guy on the defense. He kind of looked up to Fletcher Cox after Fletcher Cox graduated from Mississippi State, and I gotta put some respect on Chris Jones.
Okay.
He's a dynamic defensive lineman. I mean, he's 6'6", 300 some odd pounds, and he makes that defense go. And I think he was the reason why the Eagles lost that game because he was just, even though his stats may not have been that good, he turned it on. And started whipping on some of those the Kelseys and the linemen, stuff like that.
The guards, the interior line.
Yeah, he was just causing havoc and letting those linebackers come in. Chris Jones played really good in that game. Not in the first half, but in the second half. And I think he's one of these guys. You might not look at he's had double-digit sacks. I think his most sacks was in the year, maybe 14 and a half. So he's got numbers and stuff like that. I think he's got over 100 sacks in his career. But Chris Jones is just really, really good. You know what I mean? So he's my number 3.
I agree.
My number 2, I had Mike Evans up in there. I really like Mike Evans. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much that's a foregone conclusion. You know? So I'm not going to repeat what you just said. But my number 1, I mean, this man's been playing for over a decade. Played for Seattle for a bunch of years. Went to L.A., came back to Seattle. Now he's playing for the Commanders. I got to put some respect on Bobby Wagner, man. This man is
Bobby Wagner. Yeah.
This man's a beast, man.
He was on them Legion of Boom teams.
Yeah, man. Remember in that draft. This is when we just talked about this. In that draft, I forget who they drafted first. They drafted Bruce Irving, but in the second round they drafted Wagner. Then they got Russell Wilson, and then later on that draft they got Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
That's what it's kind of like coming to fruition. You got to hit, and he's still playing right now. All the other guys, they're all around the same age. Yeah, Russell Wilson's still playing, but Richard Sherman's been out for a couple of years. Bruce Irvin doesn't play anymore, but Bobby Wagner at middle linebacker, which is a tough. You're basically coordinating the whole defense, and you're making all the hits. And this guy's had close to 200 tackles in the season. He's well over 150 tackles, and he's just still playing. And he's playing in Commander. He's playing for his old defensive coordinator right now. So I gotta give it to Bobby Wagner. Every time I look at him, he look like he hasn't lost any type of step or anything. He's a beast. I won't call him Ray Lewis, but he's just he's a missile. He don't play out there. You know what I mean? I love watching like middle linebackers just go out there and just catch wreck on a bunch of people. And he's one of the better middle line. He's a good blitzer. He's had interceptions. You know what I mean? So I like Bobby Wagner. He's my number 1.
Cool. Well, we'll transition to the NBA. And at number 5 on my list, I have a guy who's kind of gotten a little bit of a reputation lately for being a coach killer. But he's an NBA champ one time and a Finals MVP. He's a 2-time MVP. He's a former Defensive Player of the Year. And that's my man in Milwaukee, Giannis. Number 4, I'm going to call out a guy that you don't really like. You don't really bang with his game a whole lot. But he's the only player to average a triple-double for a season since Oscar Robertson in 61 and 62. So y'all know. Russell Westbrook, man.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer.
He averaged a triple-double 4 times for the whole season. He holds the record for career triple-doubles with 199. He's a former MVP, and he's averaged over 20 points per game, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds for a point guard. And he's one of the most explosive point guards we've ever seen. I mean, at one point in time, the discussion was who's more explosive, Russell Westbrook or Derrick Rose. And unfortunately, we saw how injuries ended up taking their toll on Derrick Rose's career. So after a while, he came back, and he just wasn't really the same with his jumping ability. But he was able to return to the game and still play and be a good contributor to a few teams. But Russell Westbrook was able to maintain and sustain that explosiveness throughout his whole career. He still will bang on just about anybody, and he always brings the energy. So that's my number 4 guy. Number 3, I saw something a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, where it said that I think it was Stephen A. Smith said he's one of the worst superstars in NBA history or something like that. Like that he gave him a real wild tag, but
I know you're talking about.
he's a 2-time NBA champ, 2-time Finals MVP for 2 different teams, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and when healthy, he's one of the best defenders, one-on-one ball defenders I've seen. But that's Kawhi Leonard. Number 2, I'm gonna take it to my young guys now because I wanted to show a little love to young guys, maybe try to project it out a little bit. But the first guy, the number 2 guy, I guess it probably should go without saying as long as he's able to stay healthy throughout the course of his career because we've just seen how he's developed and gotten better over the course of his first couple of seasons. His team got to the finals last year, but that's Luka Doncic. He's definitely on pace and at a trajectory where he's headed towards the Hall of Fame at some point in time after his career is over. And the number 1 guy, I didn't show a whole lot of love to big guys, but he is the big guy on his team, even though compared to a few other big guys around the league, he's a little undersized, but he still cooks, he still does his thing, he still gets busy, and that's in Oklahoma City, Chet Holmgren. I think he's on a trajectory to where if he can stay healthy for the better part of his career, and he can keep balling and doing what he's doing, and if they can keep that team together for a few seasons, which it seems like they all kind of get along and they all are, a unit. They play together. They're really good. So yeah, I'm gonna give some love to the white boy big man, Chet Holmgren.
Okay, all right.
Any
You're projecting.
any objections to any of those? I guess you probably not done with Chet though.
No, not Chet. I like Luka, but I need to see a little bit more.
Okay.
I need to see him play some type of defense.
Okay.
So I'm not really. But the thing is, NBA. I think NBA is too easy, so he'll get in. Me, no, but he'll get in. NBA will let anybody in. All you gotta do is play 10, 12 years, and you get in. It don't matter.
That's not necessarily true.
I mean, go through the list of you like, oh, dang, he's an NBA.
No,
he's in the Hall of Fame.
That's true. You will look at it and be like, oh, word, that's it. But
yeah. I think I heard that's the easiest one to get in. But I think NFL is becoming easy to get in too because they just letting in Patrick Willis.
That's what Deion Sanders said. He
And,
said they let too many people in. He said he don't want his bus next to some of these people that they letting
Calvin Johnson. I mean, I like these guys. These guys are great players, but it's just like, bro,
Calvin Johnson was in, and I was kind of surprised about that.
Yeah,
although he had a great career and he was very dominant.
Bro, you was done at 30. Like, I need to at least play to 33.
He didn't make it to no bowls.
Yeah.
I
don't know. You know what I mean? But in NBA, all you gotta do is put in a 12 to 14-year career and be somewhat active. I think you're going to get in. All right. So
speaking of Hall of Famers, salute to Vince Carter for getting in.
Yeah. That was the Toronto Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
but he got into the regular Hall of Fame too.
Regular Hall of Fame, but he went in as a rep.
Yeah. He played he played 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Vince Carter was he was a beast. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry guys, we were supposed to say no Bron, no KD, and no
right.
Steph. You know what I mean? So,
we was cutting out.
Yeah. I said Giannis too, but my Mike already said him. You know what I mean? So he wasn't on my list because Giannis is just he's certified bona fide. You know what I mean? But my number 5 is I mean people will kind of clown this guy, but I liked him coming out of college. I'm gonna put some respect on Anthony Davis. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Okay, he got a chip.
He got a chip. You know what I mean? He's been pretty. I think as he's gotten older, I think he's gotten used to his body, and he's able to put up 29 to 28 to 27 points, get 13, 14 rebounds and stuff like that. And I know I think the injury stuff is kind of behind him. I mean, he'll go to miss a game now and then because the era we in the basketball. But
that's just what they do.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely get in. Yeah, so he's my number 5.
Okay.
My number 4. I mean, this one may be a little bit sketchy, but I think Jimmy will get in. Jimmy Butler will get in. Yeah. A little sketchy, but I think he'll get in. You know what I mean? So I think from what he started to where he is right now, he's, you know what I mean? But
it might be a little tight for Jimmy because he didn't get no rings. He didn't get no MVPs. He didn't get really any hardware.
Well, Tracy McGrady's up in there, right?
True.
Now, only thing about it, I know if you're a scoring champion for more than a couple seasons, and
that makes a difference.
You know what I mean?
So didn't do that, but Tracy
definitely did. Yeah. And did he get an MVP? Did he? I can't remember.
I don't think he got an MVP.
I think he got close one year. I would have to look it up.
He's definitely in the conversation.
Yeah, but I remember he's down in Houston. He was putting up big numbers up down there. Yeah,
in Orlando too.
Yeah, in Orlando too. Yeah, but I'll put Jimmy Butler. I think he'll squeeze up in there just because he's like a hardworking cat. You know what I mean?
I'll put an asterisk next to that because here's the thing. They're gonna remember mostly. I mean, they'll remember how you played.
Yeah.
But they're basically, I feel like, gonna break it down based on like your numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And he has put up good numbers, but like Taylor said, he was never like a scoring champ. He was never like really a 30-point per game scorer over the course of a whole season. There were times when he had like crazy streaks, especially in Miami. But Go ahead.
he might not be first ballot. He may get in maybe a couple. Oh yeah, we're gonna put him in because we got a weak class this year. We're gonna throw him in. I think he might get in. Hall of Fame is Hall of Fame to me. They would say first ballot. You know what I mean? He may not be first, but I think he'll get in. That's not a diss. You know
No,
what I mean?
you good. Go ahead.
You know what I mean?
Who's your number 3?
Yeah, number 3, former 76er. He got 2 rings, and I got to put some respect on
Did
Drew
he?
Holiday.
Drew Holiday.
Yeah,
Okay,
Drew
okay.
Holiday, yeah.
Drew Holiday did almost make my list because he's solid.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he's a great two-way player. Like you said, he got 2 rings.
Changed up his career. Remember, he's more of an offensive player, but over the last second half of his career, more of a defensive player. He does. I think he made at least 2 All-Star teams. I know he made one when he was in New Orleans. Yeah, I mean, he may have made another one after that, but I think he's got the
has
credentials.
A long career.
Yeah, had a long career, and I think he's got at least 3 or 4 more years left after thinking about retiring a couple years ago. You know what I mean? So I think Drew Holiday will definitely get up in there because he spent. Remember, he got drafted when he was 19.
Yeah.
He's 34 right now, so. I think the longevity of your career, sticking with it, getting championships. Yeah, he may not have led any in assists or anything like that in points, but I think because of the longevity and him going from one team to another and being a constant profession, I think he'll get in just because off of just being a craftsman, you know what I mean, of a point guard and stuff like that. So I think Drew Holiday will definitely get in just because of his work ethic and stuff like that.
I'd say it's a strong possibility.
Yeah. Number 2 was Klay Thompson. I
almost had him on my list.
I think he'll get up in there. Yeah, 3. Now, no, I know he had the injuries and stuff like that, but I think before that, I think he scored 70 points in that one game, right?
He did.
That's crazy. You know what I mean? So
He had
that's
that
kind of why I
crazy
put him up in
third quarter where he scored all those points on like 2 dribbles.
2 dribbles or something like that. So I think he'll definitely get up in there. And I think the second half of his career with Dallas, I think if everything goes right, I think that'll like cement it. You know what I mean? So I think he'll get up in there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And my number 1, I don't even have to look at my list. Jokic, whatever you call it.
Jokic is 2-time MVP.
3-time MVP.
3-time MVP.
Every 3-time MVP
NBA
is in the Hall of Fame. There's only a couple, and he'll be up in there with them.
Was he the Finals MVP that year?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Exactly.
he was. Yeah, you know what I mean? So he's
dominant. I said earlier he's the best player in the league right now.
Yeah.
Although Wemby's coming, but yeah, Jokic definitely can get the nod.
Yeah,
for getting in the Hall of Fame.
he's up in there. I know a lot of people y'all don't like how the way he looks. I like how the way he plays. You know what I mean? He slows the game down a little bit, but he got a little bit of pep into his step. And next thing you know, he got 29, 15, and 13, and you're like, damn, how'd that happen?
All that matters is the rhythm to his game and how he's able to put it together. And his rhythm is fine. Like Taylor said, he does kind of slow the game down a little bit, but. You know, he can bring the ball up the court. Yep. He can pass the ball. He can rebound. He can shoot from beyond the arc, shoot at all 3 levels.
Yep.
Good free throw shooter. He's consistent. He doesn't get hurt a whole lot.
Nope.
Denver picked right when they chose him over Nurkic.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, because they were all on the same team at the same time. And they traded
were all in Denver.
And
they
traded
him.
As soon as they started, he went from like 18, 19 points to 20 to 22 to 2, and he's gotten better and better every year, and he's just so consistent. And you don't have to worry about him not giving no effort. He's going to give you effort, 120, 130% every night. He's that dude. So
you also don't got to worry about him saying he's not going to play back-to-backs.
No, you got to worry about that. Not from where he come from.
Nah.
He always play.
All right, cool. Well, I didn't really have no objections to what you had, except for maybe Jimmy Butler. But
I can see that was the one I was kind of like I was going through the list of NBA. I was going through roster and everything like this. Not that many, but you got to look at how many years somebody put in. So that's what I go by. I go by the years you put in.
He did have a long career. Started in Chicago, went to Minnesota.
If you play a bunch of games and stuff like that, I think NBA look at that and like, we're gonna let this guy in. You know what I mean? So. Remember, they usually let in about 3 or 4 people at a time, sometimes 5, depending on how many people retire the year before. But they get to a year where it's like, we only got 3 dudes in, but Jimmy's been eligible for the last 3 or 4 years. We'll let him up in there. You know what I mean? So.
All right, cool, solid. Well, that's going to close off this episode's edition of Top 5. And we're going to end this episode with Mike's Minutes. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet. So my message to y'all is something that I learned from a dude who I listen to. I think he makes a lot of sense with the things he says, and I think he makes a lot of sense with this particular message. But it's just don't major in minor things. Don't spend major time on minor things, minor habits, minor pursuits, minor goals. You got to make sure you give them the right amount of time to the right things. You should spend the majority of your time on things that's going to help push what you got going on, push your situation, get you to a better spot, get you to a better space. And I think if that's an adjustment that you make in your life, if it's not something that you do already, might just help you out. That's all we be trying. Well, that's all I be trying to do up here is give you a little message, a little word, just to help you out. Taylor, sometimes he say something like that. Sometimes he'll say something like just stay safe. But either way, that's our Mike's minutes, or that's my Mike's minutes. Excuse me, and that's what I got for y'all for this episode. So follow and subscribe at Sleep Is For You on YouTube, IG, Twitter. That's S.L.E.E.P.I.S. the number 4 YOU. This is episode 117 for us. It's our 12th with excellence, and we want to give a big, big shout out and a round of applause to our gracious producers, Mr. Mike Salvi and Mr. Buzz Taylor. We really appreciate all y'all work and all y'all put into what we do. Y'all definitely helped us make us look good as far as our presentation with our episodes and everything like that. Everything looks real crisp and put together nicely, edited nicely. So if y'all looking to do your own podcast, y'all looking to do your own thing, definitely hit up the guys at Excellence, and they'll get you in here and get you set up in a good situation. But you can listen to the podcast anywhere you find your audio episodes. Salute to everybody again for checking us out, spending some time with us, seeing what we got to say. And Taylor, anything else you got for the people?
Nah, man. Thanks to the producers. Thanks to all the people that watch the show, the subscribers, stuff. I tell y'all, like and subscribe. Y'all done that. You know what I mean? So salute to y'all. Happy holidays and all that stuff. Man. I appreciate it.
Definitely happy holidays.
Yeah.
And again,
y'all can see we got the red and the green. You know what I mean? Y'all ain't even pick it up.
Again, salute to all of our guests that we've had up here.
Oh, yeah. All the guests. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anytime you look at a short or the video for 15, 20 minutes, I appreciate that. You know what I mean? So anything that y'all do, you know what I mean, on your own time and you spend it with us, I appreciate that. So salute to everybody out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, well, that's going to do it for us up here. Water.
You need more sleep.
Excellence! Yeah. We back. Yeah. Look, free to return to that emo rap. Ain't no kilo stash. Augustine's son had to reload that. Daddy gone, but his legacy strong. How do you figure? I too thought I'd be dead, all things considered, but I'm living, thriving and growing, fighting opponents that I'm with it. Striving to know who died for the lowest, don't you get it? The industry hopers try to control us, I ain't with it. I got me a goal that's highly explosive with my wife and my baby. What I'm writing is weighty. Call me S.O. or Bebenberg. They knighted me lately. Stand where the light is, feeling lighted, delighted, and maybe I'm getting grown. Nothing wrong with Bible and Bailey's. I open up the text, got my mind closer off the edge. Goes the architect. I ain't gotta go to your connect. I gotta go direct. Him and I through the sun up.